Coming up, delusional Democrats attempt to build a case of Musk being corrupt and using his position for personal gain. It doesn't end well for the Democrats. The most prominent early mover on the Musk corruption story was who else but MSNBC's Rachel Maddow.
Well, now as the top campaign donor to U.S. President Donald Trump, Elon Musk has apparently somehow convinced the United States government, specifically the United States Department of State, that the taxpayers of the United States of America should spend $400 million buying, quote, armored Tesla production units. Since I think the only supposedly armored production vehicles Tesla makes are these hilarious trucks, this really appears to be the State Department announcing, putting in writing that it's going to spend $400 million buying these paperweights from Elon Musk. This is a line item in the latest procurement forecast for the U.S. Department of State. And isn't it great what they're doing? Isn't it great and definitely not at all illegal or profoundly corrupt for the president to put someone with billions of dollars in government contracts personally in charge of deciding what happens to government contracts? I mean, hopefully the State Department isn't planning on parking its $400 million worth of armored Tesla production units like under a walnut tree or like out in the rain. But otherwise, that's obviously a super kosher use of taxpayer funds and not at all $400 million worth of self-dealing by the president's top campaign donor to whom he has handed the keys to the kingdom. Definitely not ripping us all off to pay.
Smug Maddow delights in a story that she believes proves that Musk is corrupt. She talks about profoundly corrupt behavior by Trump and Musk. She calls it self-dealing and says, definitely not ripping us all off. Unfortunately, in this case, as was the case with a journalist who wrote a defamatory article about me and was found guilty of defamation in a court of law, as would be Maddow if this case was taken to court, she just wanted the story too much. When these journalists want a story too much, they don't bother being thorough with their material, and they get caught out, as you will see later in this video. But don't think that she was on her own with this. There were all too many Democrat army falling for this garbage. Look at this NPR clip.
The Trump administration is expected to purchase $400 million worth of Tesla vehicles. NPR's Bobby Allen reports this comes as Tesla's CEO, Elon Musk, oversees the White House's effort to cut the federal workforce and federal spending.
One item stuck out of a long list of procurement contracts. It's from a State Department document for fiscal year 2025. An expected $400 million purchase of so-called armored Teslas. It didn't specify what model, but Tesla's stainless steel Cybertruck could be an option. After reports circulated of the lucrative federal contract, the State Department document was edited. The word Tesla was removed. It now says the $400 million purchase is for, quote, armored electric vehicles. Musk has been questioned over conflicts of interest in the White House, given he runs 6 companies with large federal contracts.
Here, the inference is that the contract was changed from Tesla armored to just armored to hide something nefarious. And just when you think it could not get any more stupid.
A portion of this video is brought to you by Ground News. For more information about Ground News, visit the link in the description or wait till the end of this video to hear more from me. This story has a whole bunch that you're going to need to stick around for. Not only are we learning that Elon Musk secured a $400 million contract with the Department of State to provide those goofy, angular, trash can looking Cybertrucks to the State Department. $400 million. $500 million nearly. But also, his name and the evidence of the contracts all of a sudden disappeared mysteriously. Mr. Transparent Doge guy. All of a sudden, the government, Donald Trump's government, our government, is now keeping secrets about the money that they're giving to the world's richest man, who is entrenched in all kinds of ethics problems and conflicts of interest. This being just one more.
Just look at this guy, Jesse Dollemore. First up, what an incredible irony that he is getting sponsored by Ground News, an organisation that looks at news bias. You could not get more biased than Dollemore. He also goes on about the disappearance of Tesla on the contract. He talks about all kinds of ethics problems with Musk. As with Maddow, I see a very definite potential that this guy could be sued for defamation, as in both cases they're clearly slandering Musk. You can tell from Dollemore's whole demeanour, he is delighted with himself. If you enjoy this sort of content, please like, share and subscribe. Dollemore continues.
Here's the headline from the New York Times. Then we're going to get to a Bloomberg headline that really breaks this thing wide open. New York Times, State Department plans $400 million purchase of armored Tesla Cybertrucks. The department plans to buy armored Tesla vehicles. Elon Musk, who is leading efforts to cut government spending. Can we stop with the acceptance of whatever narrative Donald Trump and Elon Musk give us about what his goal is? He's not leading the effort to cut government spending. New York Times. That is objectively not what's taking place. Do your job.
Dollemore quotes the New York Times. He gets more and more emotional and emotive, literally shouting at the New York Times because he does not think that the New York Times is critical enough on Musk. I could not possibly guess what this guy's politics are. He goes on.
Here's the headline from Bloomberg. Plans to buy armored Teslas vanish from State Department procurement list. The State Department's procurement forecast removed the mention of Elon Musk's Tesla Inc. in relation to a planned $400 million armored EV purchase after reports emerged about it on Wednesday. The December version of the document had included an armored Tesla budget item that would span 5 years and start in 2025. However, the document was revised to remove Tesla's name. This followed reports of the company's moniker on the procurement document from DropSite News and the New York Times. Musk's unprecedented role in U.S. President Donald Trump's administration as overseer of government spending has raised recurring questions.
Once again, with the conspiracy theory about removing the word Tesla. He talks about DropSite News. I would suggest that Dollemore is either illiterate or not able to analyse what is written with a critical eye. As you will see later in the video, if he had actually read DropSite News' article very carefully, he would have noted a very significant flaw in his narrative. And then we get to breaking point on this.
Right through. This was a great scoop by Ryan and Jeremy over at DropSite News. So Tesla is set to win the largest State Department contract of 2025. They're getting from the State Department $400 million for armored Teslas. This is apparently armored Cybertrucks in particular. That they are, so $400 million in armored Cybertrucks to the State Department, according to procurement documents that they reviewed. So again, the largest contract for the State Department for all of 2025 thus far, $400 million into the pockets of Elon Musk.
How do I buy one? How do I get it?
Nice for him.
Truck?
Very nice for him.
Look, I think there's a couple of things. I don't think it's deniable that anything that you're saying is correct.
Once again, Breaking Points have used DropSite News as their source, and they're not properly read the article. As such, they draw all sorts of unwarranted conclusions, as we will see later in this video. As such, all of their glee on this issue really bites them all back as lousy journalists, if we can call them that. Then we have John Idarola of the Damage Report.
Finding corruption, with the entire endeavor being the definition of corruption. And hey, we have an amazing example of it for today's show. The State Department apparently plans to buy $400 million of armored Tesla Cybertrucks.
Jesus.
Which is simultaneously wildly corrupt, considering that Elon Musk paid Trump's way into the presidency and is doing all this stuff. And also the dumbest idea I've ever heard. Cybertrucks can't even make it through a car wash without breaking down. You have to worry about dead bugs ruining the finish. That's how poorly they're manufactured. And you think slapping more metal on top of them when they can barely function as it is a solution to all of our problems? So as he's going around, this is how cheaply people are bought and their identity politics nonsense. They say, Elon Musk found that USAID paid $30,000 for a trans opera, even though it wasn't USAID, it was a State Department, a totally different thing. So we got rid of 30,000, that's corruption. 400 million to Tesla. Do you know how many trans operas you could buy with that? I didn't do the math because it's too stupid to consider, but yeah, that's how cheaply they're bought. Now this is for 2025. I'm assuming they'll have to pay more once they start all breaking down. So that's really cool. And by the way, once this got out, it was so obviously corrupt that they decided to try to obscure it a little bit.
He talks about how cheaply people are bought. You were bought for nothing, John. You were just too stupid to look at the source material. He calls Doge and Musk as being the definition of corruption and calls the deal wildly corrupt. He also goes into the conspiracy theory of obscuring the deal. Then we have Senator Richard Blumenthal as well.
According to CBS News, Senator Richard Blumenthal is pressing the State Department for transparency regarding a potential $400 million purchase of armored Tesla Cybertrucks, raising concerns over Musk's growing influence in the government. In a letter to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Blumenthal questions whether this deal is standard business or a glaring conflict of interest, stating, Mr. Musk's dual roles pose conflicts of interest so obvious that they hardly require explanation. The letter obtained by CBS News highlights concerns over Musk's allyships in the government, claiming that the Cybertruck deal signals that these conflicts are escalating.
Blumenthal talks about significant conflicts of interest. This guy is not only in the Senate, he was in the governing party under Biden, so he should have some idea on how to get information about this deal. But no, once again, he wants the narrative too much. Terribly corrupt Trump and Musk. Now let's see the reality of the situation with Anna Kasparian, who's definitely no MAGA supporter.
So this is where the story actually takes some twists and turns. And I would venture to say that the producers over at the Rachel Maddow show on MSNBC were fully aware of the dates involved on this procurement documentation. So bear with us as we go through the details. Ryan Grimm of Dropsite News first reported on this contract yesterday, but what Grimm reported is a little bit different from what Rachel Maddow reported. So let me give you the relevant portion of Ryan Grimm's reporting here, where he says that the State Department's procurement forecast revised as of late December 2024 lists Tesla as the recipient of the largest expected contract, with Marco Rubio's department planning to buy $400 million worth of armored Tesla. The procurement forecast is listed as having been modified on December 13th, 2024, a month after Donald Trump's election. It was a month after Donald Trump's election, but it was obviously before he had been inaugurated, before he was officially in office. In other words, the State Department would have issued that contract under Biden's administration.
So here is the problem with all these Democrat flunkies. This State Department document was written in December 2024. When was Trump inaugurated? 20th of January 2025. All of the previous geniuses who really should have known better, particularly Blumenthal and Maddow, the latter of who has a whole production team to ensure the bona fides of a story, did not do their due diligence as they wanted the story too much. Kasparian did far more due diligence than all of the rest of them, even in cases where there were significant backup staffs and significant resources to examine the details of the story. Let's look at what Maddow said after she found out that this deal was signed under Biden, not Trump, and indeed the State Department document was written when Biden was still in office. After all, it should have dawned on all of them, with Biden being all in for EVs versus Trump's drill baby drill, and people having access to the sorts of vehicles they want, that this would have been more likely under Biden rather than Trump.
Last night, we reported on this fiscal year 2025 procurement prospectus from the U.S. State Department. It is dated December 2024 during the Biden administration. This is after the November election, but before Trump was sworn.
So, that was it then, was it? No apology, just a really softly mentioning the date and that Biden was still in office at the time. Disgraceful all around. But what is your opinion of the issue? Please let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching.